Exercise 18.3, 18.4, and now it is question number 2. Sketch and label the following graphs on separate sets of axes. So this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and we start off like labeling them. It's part A that we are going to solve. Let's have its table of values first. Y is equal to 3 divided by x, part A. Question 2, x and y. The values of x, if we have -3, the value of y is going to be -1. Then when x is -2, this is going to be 3 divided by -2. That is -1.5. Okay, then when it is -1, so this is -3. When this is 0, so this is undefined obviously. Then for 1, the value of x is 1, the value of y is 3. When x is 2, the value of y is 3 by 2, that is 1.5. And when the value of x is 3, the value of y is 3 by 3, that is 1. So the values of x are 1, 2, and 3, and -1, -2, and -3. I'm doing them manually without graph. So the distance might not be the uniform, but the concept is what I need to clarify. For y, the values of y, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So -1, -2, -3, -4, and then so on. For the graph, let me draw it. -3 corresponds to -1. So this is the point. Then -2 corresponds to -1.5. So here is -1.5, this one. Then -1 corresponds to -3, and this one. So joining them with a smooth curve, this. This is a graph, and like this. You need to show that uh, this line becomes parallel to this y-axis, so that the y-axis is actually the asymptote of this. Okay, now for this particular thing, 1 corresponds to 3, 2 correspond to 1.5, here is 1.5, and then 3 corresponds to 1. So like this, and then this, this. So this is a graph of y is equal to 3 divided by x. Okay, in the same way, we can have the graph of part B. For example, it states that y is equal to -4 divided by x. We can make y the subject, and now we can construct the table of the values x and y. The value of x is, let's suppose I start from -4. So the value of y will become 1, then -3. -4 divided by -3. That is 1.3. Then for -2, this will become -4 divided by -2, that is +2. For -1, it would become +4. For 0, obviously, it would become undefined. Then again, on the positive side, for 1, it is going to be -4. For 2, it is going to be -2. For 3, it is going to be 1.3. And for 4, it is going to be -1. Now, again, we need to plot them on the graph, like this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis, and then labeling them with 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4, and for y-axis again 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3, and then -4. Okay, then let's draw the graph. For -4, the value of y is 1. So this is the point. Then -3 corresponds to 1.3. This is 1.5, I guess. So below this 1.3. This one. -2 corresponds to 2. So this is, let me do it like this. So this is going to be this one, then a bit higher, then further higher. -1 corresponds to 4, and so on. So joining them, this is the graph on one side, and on the other side 1 corresponds to -4, 2 corresponds to -2, then 3 corresponds to 1.3. This was the negative value. Here would it be? This is -1.5. So this is going to be like -1.3. And then 4 corresponds to -1. So joining these points like this, and then going like this. So this is the graph of xy is equal to -4, or y is equal to -4 by x. So this is how these graphs are to be drawn. Now we proceed towards the next part. Let it be part D. the value of y can be written as 4 divided by 2x plus 7 divided by 2. So we have shifted this 2 on the right side. So the equation becomes 2 by x plus 7 by 2, that is 3.5. This is the constant value that translates the graph. And how is it going to affect the graph? Let's see. For x and y, again, let's have the values starting from, for example, -3. So 2 divided by -3 plus 3.5. The value is 2.83. Then for -2, this is 5 by 2 or 2.5. For -1, this is going to be 3 by 2, which is 1.5. And for 0, this time this term would become 0, but 3.5 would remain. So we need to see that it is not going to be undefined at x equal to 0 like the previous two parts. Okay, then we can have it for x equals to 1, then 2, then 3. When x is +1, this is 11 by 2. 2 plus 3.5, which is 5.5. Then when this is, the value of x is 2, it is 1 plus 3.5, that is 4.5. And when the value of x is 3, the answer is 4.16, or we can call it as 4.2. So like this, we can draw the table of the values. And once we are done with the table of the values, then we can draw the graph of this function. And we can sketch it as we have been doing previously, like taking the y-axis, then the x-axis, and then labeling them. 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. Okay. And this way, when we draw the graph would be drawn as -3 corresponds to 2.8. So if this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. In between, this is going to be 2.5, and somewhere here, this will be 2.8. So this is the point. -2 corresponds to 2.5. This one, Negative 1 corresponds to 1.5 here, and then 0 corresponds to 3.5. When x is 0, the value, rather when x is 0, this part becomes undefined, 2 divided by 0, and that would give us like we are not going to substitute this value normally as we have been doing in the previous parts. So this would be something when we will be calculating it using the calculator, we are going to have the math error. So this is not the value 3.5 that would be here. So we are going to skip this value and it is going to give us a way like uh, we can continue this pattern like this. So this could be one part of this graph. And on the other side, it is 1 corresponds to 5.5. So 5 will be 4, 5, and I guess 5.5 will be here. 1 corresponds to 5.5 here. Then 2 corresponds to 4.5 in between this. Then 3 corresponds to 4.2 somewhere. So joining these points, this is the graph going like this. So that completes the graph of this part D for y is equal to 2 by x plus 3.5, or we can write down as the original equation 2y equals to 4 by x plus 7. So this is how these questions are to be done. So let me erase this portion rather. So that would make it correct.